Hello and welcome to Rainbow Romance. First of all, I want to sincerely thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Your support means so much to me and gives me the motivation to keep creating better and more meaningful stories every day. If you enjoy the content on this channel, please don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications so you never miss a new video, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Thank you so much. And now let's begin. The strange thing about a list is that it can look completely harmless when you don't know why it exists. Luke found Jamie's folded between two textbooks. He wasn't snooping. At least, that was what he told himself while standing beside Jamie's desk with the paper already open in his hands. There were no dramatic declarations, no grand plans. Watch the sunrise from the ocean. Drive somewhere without knowing the destination. Sleep under the stars. Eat something I've always been afraid to try. Get hopelessly lost. Make a memory worth keeping. Luke frowned. Then he read the list again. Oh, Jamie. Suddenly, everything made sense. The withdrawn behavior. The staring out windows. The weird little silences whenever someone mentioned graduation. The way Jamie had recently started looking at ordinary things as though they were somehow disappointing him personally. Jamie was having a quarter-life crisis. A spectacular one. Luke folded the paper just as footsteps sounded in the hallway. Jamie appeared in the doorway. He froze. Luke froze. Jamie's eyes dropped to the paper. No, Luke lifted one hand. Before you panic, why are you holding that? I found it. In my desk. Found is a flexible word. Luke. Okay. Discovered. Jamie crossed the room and snatched the list away. His face had gone pale enough that Luke's smile faded. For one terrible second, Jamie thought Luke knew. About the appointment. About the uncertainty. About why he had written the list at 2:17 in the morning after sitting alone in his car for 40 minutes, because going home would make everything real. Then Luke sighed sympathetically. You should have told me you were going through something. Jamie blinked. What? This? Luke gestured toward the paper. The existential crisis. Jamie stared at him. The what? You're young. You're confused. You're probably wondering whether you've wasted your best years. I'm 22. Exactly. Devastating age. Despite himself, Jamie almost laughed. Almost. Luke reached for the list again, but Jamie pulled it against his chest. You're not touching this. Fine. Good. We'll start with the first one. Jamie stared. Luke was already grabbing his jacket. Sunrise at the ocean. Luke, it's 11 at night. Perfect. The ocean is 4 hours away. Also perfect. I have class tomorrow. Luke paused at the door. So skip it. Jamie looked genuinely offended. You're a terrible influence. I'm trying to save your youth. My youth does not need saving. That is exactly what someone whose youth needs saving would say. Jamie should have refused. He should have told Luke the list wasn't an invitation. That it wasn't cute. That it wasn't some spontaneous challenge designed to make life more interesting. He should have told him the truth. Instead, 40 minutes later, Jamie was sitting in Luke's passenger seat with a gas station coffee between his hands while Luke murdered an 80s love song at full volume. Jamie watched the city lights disappear behind them. Then, quietly, he pulled out his phone. He pointed the camera toward Luke. Luke noticed. What are you doing? Nothing. You're filming me. For evidence. Of what? Jamie watched Luke grin through the tiny glowing screen. He swallowed. That this happened. Luke laughed and turned the music louder. Jamie kept recording. Because Luke thought they were driving toward the ocean. Jamie knew they were driving toward the first thing he was terrified he might never get to do. By 3 in the morning, Luke had developed 3 deeply concerning beliefs. First, gas station coffee counted as hydration. Second, speed limits were apparently more like emotional guidelines. And third, he absolutely did not need GPS. Jamie discovered the third problem when the navigation voice calmly announced, recalculating, for what had to be the 7th time. He lowered his coffee. Luke. We're lost. We're exploring. We passed that gas station 20 minutes ago. There are lots of gas stations. That one has a 12-foot inflatable chicken on the roof. Luke glanced into the rearview mirror. The enormous yellow chicken disappeared behind them. Coincidence. Jamie stared at him. Then, against every reasonable instinct, he laughed. Luke looked over. Not a polite laugh. Not Jamie's usual tiny exhale when something was mildly amusing. A real one. Messy. Sleep-deprived. Uncontrolled. Luke smiled. There he is. Jamie's laughter faded. Who? You. Something inside Jamie tightened. He immediately turned toward the window. Outside, darkness stretched across empty fields, interrupted occasionally by sleepy houses and convenience stores glowing like lonely spaceships. Luke didn't notice the change, or pretended not to. He tapped the steering wheel. So, ocean before sunrise. We're not making it. We are absolutely making it. You don't know where we are. I know generally. Generally. Earth. Jamie groaned. His phone was still in his hand. Without thinking, he opened the camera. Luke singing badly. Luke arguing with GPS. Luke holding up 2 terrible sandwiches at a gas station and announcing, with complete seriousness, that one of them looked emotionally safer. Jamie recorded everything. Little pieces. Tiny proofs. He told himself it was because Luke was ridiculous. That was easier. At 3:47, the road finally curved between 2 dark hills. Then Jamie saw it. A thin silver line beyond the windshield. The ocean. His breath caught. Luke noticed. Told you. You got us lost for 40 minutes. And yet, Luke pointed dramatically ahead. Behold. Jamie smiled. They parked near an empty stretch of beach at exactly 4:03 a.m. The world was almost completely dark. No tourists. No umbrellas. No screaming children throwing sand at strangers. Just waves. Wind. And 2 idiots who had driven 4 hours because Luke misunderstood a piece of paper. Jamie stepped onto the sand and stopped. For months, the ocean had existed as 6 words on a list. Watch the sunrise from the ocean. Something to accomplish. Something to cross out. Something to prove he had lived before. No. Jamie shut the thought down. Not tonight. Luke walked past him carrying a blanket stolen from his car. You coming? Jamie followed. They sat near the water, shoulders wrapped in the same blanket, because Luke had apparently brought exactly one. You planned this brilliantly, Jamie muttered. I planned nothing. That explains everything. Luke bumped his shoulder. Jamie bumped back. For several minutes, neither spoke. The horizon slowly softened from black to blue. Jamie reached for his phone. Camera. Record. Luke glanced over. You're doing it again. What? Filming everything. Jamie's thumb hovered over the screen. I like remembering things. Luke looked toward the horizon. You're 22, Jamie. Your memory isn't supposed to be failing yet. Jamie went still. Luke laughed at his own joke. Jamie didn't. He quietly pointed the camera toward the ocean instead. Then Luke asked, almost casually, why did you write the list? Jamie's heart stumbled. There it was. The question. The truth rose into his throat. Doctor. Tests. Time. Fear. Jamie could have told him. Instead, he watched the first thin line of gold appear over the water. His voice came out softer than intended. I don't want to wake up someday and realize I missed everything. Luke turned toward him. Jamie kept looking at the sunrise. Luke smiled. Then we'll make sure you don't. Jamie finally looked at him. Luke had already turned back toward the ocean. So Jamie lifted his phone again. But this time, he didn't film the sunrise. He filmed Luke watching it. And for reasons Jamie refused to examine, that became the part he wanted to keep. The problem with watching the sunrise after driving all night was that eventually someone had to drive home. That someone was Luke, which would have been reassuring if Luke had possessed any measurable sense of direction. Turn left, Jamie said. Luke turned right. Jamie slowly lowered his phone. Did you hear me? Perfectly. I said left. I know. You turned right. Luke nodded. I disagreed. With geography? With the route. Jamie stared at him. The GPS recalculated. Again. 20 minutes later, Jamie noticed a familiar wooden fence. Then a familiar mailbox. Then Luke. Don't. That cow. Jamie. We've seen that cow before. You cannot possibly know that. Jamie pointed through the window. The enormous brown cow stood beside the fence, chewing grass with the expression of someone who had watched 2 idiots make the same mistake twice. It remembers us. It's a cow. It's disappointed in you. Luke glanced over. The cow continued chewing. Luke sighed. Okay, maybe we're slightly lost. Slightly. Geographically inconvenienced. Jamie laughed. Luke smiled despite himself. Then the car coughed. Once. Twice. The engine made a noise that sounded expensive. Luke's smile disappeared. No, the car shuddered. Luke. No. Don't do this to me. He guided the car onto the shoulder. Silence. They were surrounded by fields, a narrow road, and absolutely nothing resembling civilization. Luke climbed out. Jamie followed. Luke opened the hood and stared inside with intense concentration. Jamie waited. 30 seconds. 1 minute. Luke touched something. Jamie narrowed his eyes. Do you know what you're doing? Luke didn't look up. Yes. What's wrong with it? Car problem. Jamie blinked. What kind? The mechanical kind. You have no idea. I'm diagnosing. You're staring at the engine. That's phase 1. Jamie folded his arms. What's phase 2? Luke looked at him. Call somebody who understands phase 1. Jamie broke. The laugh escaped before he could stop it. Then another. Soon he was bent forward, laughing so hard his stomach hurt. Luke stared. This is traumatic for me. That made it worse. Jamie laughed until tears gathered in his eyes. Luke's expression softened. There he was again. Jamie. Not the quiet version who stared through windows. Not the one who carried a folded list like a secret. Just Jamie, laughing beside a broken car in the middle of nowhere. Jamie noticed Luke watching. What? Nothing. Why are you looking at me like that? I like hearing you laugh. The words landed too softly. Jamie stopped. For one dangerous second, neither moved. Then Jamie reached for his phone. Instinct. Camera. Something beautiful happened. Save it. Before it disappears. He pointed it toward Luke. Luke groaned. Seriously? What? Do you document every humiliating moment of my life? Only the historically significant ones. Jamie pressed record. Luke immediately raised a greasy hand. Turn that off. No, Jamie. Explain phase 1 again. Luke lunged. Jamie yelped and ran. They circled the car like children, Jamie laughing while Luke threatened to put engine grease on his face. You wouldn't. Luke caught him. Oh, I absolutely would. A black streak landed across Jamie's cheek. Jamie gasped. You're dead. He chased Luke down the empty road. The phone kept recording from where Jamie had abandoned it against the windshield. Later, exhausted, they collapsed against the car. Their shoulders touched. Neither moved away. Jamie looked toward the phone. The red recording light was still blinking. For once, he didn't reach for it. Luke's shoulder was warm against his. The road was quiet. The car was broken. They were hopelessly lost. And strangely, Jamie wished it would take just a little longer for someone to find them. The tow truck took 2 hours. Luke complained for 97 minutes of them. Jamie knew because he had footage. You're deleting that. Absolutely not. Jamie, this is historically important. It's me threatening a vending machine. It stole your money. It stole $3. You called it a capitalist parasite. Luke pointed at him from the driver's seat. That machine knew what it did. Jamie laughed and turned the camera back toward himself for half a second, then stopped. He hated seeing himself lately. Not because he looked different. That was almost worse. He looked normal. 22. Messy hair. Tired eyes. A black streak of engine grease still across his cheek. Nothing about his face said uncertainty. Nothing said doctor's office. Nothing said there were questions about his future he still couldn't make himself answer. Jamie flipped the camera back toward Luke. Safer. Luke was always safer through a screen. By the time the tow truck dropped them near a tiny roadside motel, darkness had returned. The receptionist barely looked up. 1 room. Luke nodded. 1 bed. Luke stopped. Jamie stopped. The receptionist finally looked at them. Problem? No. Luke said too quickly. Yes, Jamie said simultaneously. Luke elbowed him. Jamie elbowed back. The receptionist slid over a key. Enjoy. We won't, Jamie muttered. The room was aggressively beige. Beige walls. Beige curtains. Beige carpet that had witnessed crimes. And 1 bed. Luke stared at it. Jamie stared at Luke staring at it. I'll sleep in the car. Our car is at a repair shop. Right. The bathtub. I have dignity. You threatened a vending machine. That was justice. Jamie laughed. Eventually, they constructed a border down the middle of the bed using 2 pillows and Luke's jacket. No crossing, Jamie said. Luke pointed solemnly at the pillow wall. International boundary. Violation means death. Understood. 5 minutes later, Luke was asleep. Jamie wasn't. Rain tapped softly against the window. He turned onto his side. Luke's face was relaxed in sleep, stripped of all the teasing confidence he carried during the day. Jamie reached for his phone. He opened the camera. Luke sleeping. Record. Jamie watched through the screen. Then his thumb hovered. This was ridiculous. He already had hours of Luke. Luke driving. Luke laughing. Luke eating terrible food. Luke dancing beside the broken car. Luke existed in Jamie's phone in dozens of tiny pieces. as if enough pieces could somehow protect Jamie from losing the whole thing. Luke shifted. His hand crossed the pillow border. Jamie nearly smiled. "Criminal," he whispered. Luke didn't wake. Jamie lowered the phone. For several seconds, he simply looked at him. No screen. No recording. Just Luke. Something hurt in Jamie's chest. Not physically. That would have been easier. He thought about telling him. Right now? Wake Luke up. Say it. "Luke, there's something you need to know. Luke, the list isn't what you think. Luke, I'm scared." Jamie opened his mouth. Nothing came. Luke shifted again, his fingers brushing Jamie's wrist. Jamie froze. Half asleep, Luke murmured, "You okay?" 3 words. That was all. Jamie's throat tightened. "Yeah." Luke's fingers remained against his wrist. "You sure?" "No. Not even slightly." Jamie looked at the phone lying dark beside him. Then at Luke. "Yeah," he whispered again. Luke drifted back to sleep. Jamie stayed awake. He didn't move his wrist. And for the first time since writing the list, Jamie understood something terrifying. He wasn't afraid of running out of things to do anymore. He was afraid of running out of time with Luke. Jamie woke with his face pressed against Luke's shoulder. This was a problem. Not a small problem. A catastrophic, border-violating, dignity-ending problem. Sometime during the night, the carefully constructed pillow wall had collapsed. One pillow was on the floor. The other had somehow migrated beneath Luke's knee. And Jamie? Jamie had apparently migrated directly onto Luke. His head rested against Luke's chest. One arm was draped across Luke's stomach. Their legs were tangled beneath the blanket. Jamie stopped breathing. Okay. Nobody panic. He could escape. Slowly. Quietly. Like a burglar leaving his own crime scene. Jamie lifted his head. Luke opened his eyes. They stared at each other. "Morning," Luke murmured. Jamie launched himself backward. He hit the wall. Luke blinked. "You okay?" "Perfect. You just assaulted drywall. I like personal space." Luke looked at the destroyed pillow barrier. Apparently not while unconscious. Jamie grabbed the nearest pillow and threw it at him. Luke laughed. That laugh followed Jamie into the bathroom, where he stared at himself in the mirror and seriously considered climbing out the window. Instead, 15 minutes later, they were eating terrible motel waffles while Luke examined Jamie's list. Jamie nearly choked. "Give me that." Luke held it higher. "Next item. Eat something you've always been afraid to try. You're violating my privacy again. You left it on the table. That doesn't make it public property." Luke's eyes lit up. "Oh, there's a roadside place 20 miles from here that serves fried alligator." Jamie stared. "No, excellent." That was not agreement. It had passion. 2 hours later, Jamie was staring at a basket of fried alligator like it had personally insulted his ancestors. Luke already had his phone out. "Oh, absolutely not." Luke grinned. "Historically important." Jamie narrowed his eyes. "You're stealing my thing." "Open." Jamie took a bite. Chewed. Paused. Luke leaned closer. "Well," Jamie swallowed. "It tastes like chicken with unresolved trauma." Luke nearly dropped the phone laughing. Jamie laughed too. And that became the pattern. A ridiculous roadside statue. Record. Luke attempting to dance with a street performer and immediately regretting every decision that led him there. Record. Jamie wearing a cowboy hat 3 sizes too large. Record. A tiny diner where Luke ordered the hottest thing on the menu and spent 10 minutes pretending he wasn't dying. Definitely record. By sunset, Jamie's phone contained dozens of new clips. Some shaky, some badly framed, some completely useless. And Jamie loved every one. They sat on the hood of the repaired car outside a convenience store, sharing fries from a paper bag. Luke stole the last one. Jamie slapped his hand. "Thief. Too slow. I hate you." "No, you don't." The words were casual. Jamie's heart disagreed. Luke looked at him. For 1 second, something changed. The jokes disappeared. The traffic noise seemed farther away. Luke's knee touched Jamie's. Neither moved. Jamie's hand automatically went toward his phone. Luke noticed. Again. Jamie stopped. "What? You're always recording." Jamie looked down. Luke smiled, still gentle. "I'm starting to think you're building a documentary about me." Jamie forced a laugh. "Maybe I need evidence for the police." But Luke kept looking at him. Jamie looked away first. That night, while Luke showered, Jamie sat alone in the car. He opened the camera. For once, he turned it toward himself. His own face appeared on screen. Jamie almost switched it off. Instead, he pressed record. Silence. He tried to speak. Nothing. He laughed nervously and rubbed his eyes. This is stupid. Another silence. Then, softly, "If Luke ever sees this," Jamie stopped. His chest tightened. He glanced toward the motel room where Luke was waiting. He could still delete it. He should. Instead, Jamie looked back into the camera. Because somehow talking to a future Luke still felt easier than telling the one standing 20 feet away. Jamie recorded the message 3 times. The first time, he made it 12 seconds before deleting it. The second time, he laughed at exactly the wrong moment. The third time, he forced himself not to stop. "If Luke ever sees this, it means I ran out of courage or time." Jamie stared into the camera. The words sounded worse out loud. More real. He swallowed. "And I really hope it was courage." A car passed behind him, headlights briefly washing across his face. Jamie looked toward the motel. Luke was still inside. 20 feet away. 20 feet somehow felt impossible. "The list isn't what you think it is." Jamie rubbed his thumb against the edge of the phone. "I should have told you that when you found it. I should have told you at the beach. Or in the car. Or last night when you asked if I was okay." He smiled without humor. "I keep getting chances." His eyes dropped. "And I keep wasting them." The motel door opened. Jamie immediately stopped recording. Luke stepped outside carrying 2 sodas. "There you are." Jamie locked the phone. "Here I am." Luke tossed him a bottle. Jamie caught it. "You disappeared. I was sitting 20 feet away." Emotionally, it felt farther. Jamie rolled his eyes. Luke grinned. And just like that, Jamie lost his courage again. The next few days became a collection of ridiculous moments. Luke found a miniature golf course shaped like a pirate ship. Jamie cheated. Luke accused him loudly. Jamie filmed the entire trial. They found a lake and rented a paddle boat that Luke confidently claimed he knew how to operate. He did not. They spun in circles for 11 minutes. Jamie nearly dropped his phone into the water from laughing. At a roadside fair, Luke won Jamie a stuffed shark after spending $30 on a game with a $5 prize. "You understand economics terribly. I understand romance." Jamie froze. Luke froze. The carnival noise filled the silence between them. Then Luke cleared his throat. I know." Neither of them knew. That night, they sat on the hood of the car beneath strings of parking lot lights. Luke ate ice cream. Jamie filmed him. "You have something on your face." Luke wiped the wrong cheek. Other side. Luke missed again. Jamie laughed. "You're hopeless. Help me." Jamie lowered the phone and leaned closer. His thumb brushed the corner of Luke's mouth. Both of them stopped. Luke looked at Jamie. Jamie forgot the camera existed. For one terrifying second, he thought Luke might kiss him. Worse, Jamie wanted him to. His phone slipped slightly in his hand. The movement broke the moment. Jamie stepped back. Luke looked away. "Got it." Jamie stared at him. "Yeah." But he hadn't. Not remotely. Later, Luke fell asleep in the passenger seat while Jamie drove. For once, Jamie didn't film him. He simply listened to Luke breathe. He imagined another road trip. Another summer. Christmas. Graduation. Luke complaining about coffee. Luke stealing his fries. Luke getting lost and insisting it was intentional. Future. The word hurt. At a red light, Jamie looked toward his phone. The unfinished video was still there. Waiting. He could finish it tonight. He could tell Luke tomorrow. He could always tell Luke tomorrow. Luke stirred. "Where are we?" "Almost home." Luke smiled sleepily. "We need a second list." Jamie tightened his hands around the steering wheel. "What?" "This one is almost done." Luke closed his eyes again. "So we make another. Half your ideas, half mine." Jamie couldn't answer. Luke continued, already drifting back to sleep. "We've got plenty of time." The light turned green. Jamie stared straight ahead. His throat burned. Beside him, Luke slept peacefully, already imagining places they hadn't been yet. Jamie reached toward his phone, then stopped. Tomorrow. He would tell him tomorrow. But for the first time, Jamie understood why tomorrow had become the most frightening word he knew. Jamie told himself he would say it after breakfast. Then Luke stole half his pancakes. So Jamie decided after class would be better. Then Luke appeared outside the lecture hall holding 2 coffees and wearing the expression of someone far too pleased with himself. Emergency. Jamie stopped. His heart jumped for all the wrong reasons. What happened? Luke held up Jamie's folded list. 1 item left before the final 3. Jamie stared at him. "You went through my bag again?" "Technically, your bag was open." "Luke." "Technically." Jamie grabbed for the paper. Luke moved it behind his back. "Drive somewhere without a destination." "We already did that. We got lost." Exactly. That doesn't count. It absolutely counts. Jamie should have been annoyed. Instead, he laughed. And that was the problem. Every time Jamie prepared to tell him, Luke gave him another reason to wait. Another coffee. Another joke. Another stupid afternoon Jamie wanted to keep untouched. They drove until campus disappeared behind them. No destination. No plan. Luke chose roads based entirely on whether they looked interesting, which meant they ended up beside a field full of sunflowers an hour before sunset. Jamie immediately reached for his phone. Record. Luke walked backward between the flowers, arms spread dramatically. Document this. You look ridiculous. I look free. You look like you're about to get attacked by bees. Luke gasped. Film my bravery. Jamie laughed behind the camera. Later, Luke found the footage. Jamie had left his phone connected to the car while buying drinks. Luke was searching for the video of himself nearly falling into the sunflower field. He found it. Then the next file began automatically. Jamie appeared on screen. Alone. Luke's smile faded. If Luke ever sees this, it means I ran out of courage or time. Luke went completely still. Jamie on the screen swallowed. And I really hope it was courage. Luke hit pause. He didn't hear another word. He didn't need to. Or at least, he thought he didn't. Jamie was leaving. The list. The constant filming. The strange silence whenever Luke mentioned next semester. The way Jamie reacted when he suggested another list. It all rearranged itself inside Luke's head. Jamie was preparing to leave school, and he hadn't planned to tell him. The passenger door opened. Jamie climbed in holding 2 sodas. Okay, they only had. He saw Luke. Then the phone. Everything inside him stopped. Luke. Luke placed the phone between them. When were you going to tell me? Jamie's face drained. How much did you watch? Enough. No. How much? Luke laughed once. There was nothing amused about it. Does it matter? Yes. You're leaving. Jamie froze. That should have been the moment. Tell him. Correct him. Say everything. Instead, Jamie whispered, Luke, you don't understand. Then explain it. Jamie opened his mouth. Nothing came. Luke looked away. Right. Luke, you keep recording every moment instead of actually being in it. Jamie stopped breathing. The beach. The motel. The stupid car. Every place we go, you're behind that phone like you're already turning us into something that happened. Jamie looked down at the device between them. Luke's voice cracked. I was there, Jamie. Jamie looked up. I was right there. Silence. Why wasn't that enough? The question struck somewhere Jamie had been avoiding for months. He thought about his videos. Hundreds of them. Luke laughing. Luke driving. Luke eating. Luke sleeping. Luke living. And Jamie behind the camera. Always behind it. So terrified of losing the future that he had spent the present preparing to remember it. You don't get to decide what this means, Jamie said, too sharply. Then tell me. I can't. Luke stared at him. Jamie immediately regretted it. Luke nodded slowly. Okay. Luke. No. I get it. You don't. Then help me understand. Jamie couldn't. Not yet. Luke opened the car door. Jamie panicked. There are things that aren't about you. Luke stopped. The sentence hung between them. Wrong. Cruel. Irreversible. Luke looked back. His expression had gone strangely calm. Yeah. He stepped out. I guess I'm one of them. The door slammed. Jamie sat alone. His phone remained between the seats. On the frozen screen was his own face. A version of himself trying to speak to some future Luke because he had been too afraid to speak to the one standing beside him. Jamie picked up the phone. For the first time, he didn't press record. He turned it off. For 3 days, Jamie didn't record anything. His phone stayed in his pocket through breakfast, through class, through the afternoon when sunlight spilled across campus and turned everything gold. Normally, he would have filmed it. Instead, Jamie sat beneath a tree and watched. It was beautiful. That somehow made everything worse. Luke hadn't texted. Jamie had typed 17 messages. Deleted 17 messages. I'm sorry. You misunderstood. There's something I need to tell you. Can we talk? Every version sounded too small for the truth waiting behind it. So Jamie did what he had always done. Nothing. Except now he understood what that nothing was costing him. That evening, he opened his camera roll. Luke filled the screen. Luke laughing with grease on his hands. Luke losing an argument with a vending machine. Luke wearing sunglasses he definitely hadn't paid for. Luke asleep in the passenger seat. Luke at the ocean before sunrise. Jamie swiped faster. Luke. 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 Hundreds of tiny moments. Then Jamie stopped. He realized something. He was barely in any of them. He had been so desperate to preserve Luke that he had accidentally removed himself from their story. Jamie locked the phone. No more. The words sounded enormous in the empty room. The next morning, he found Luke outside the library. Luke saw him. Immediately looked away. Jamie approached anyway. Hey. Hey. That hurt more than anger. Jamie shoved his hands into his pockets. I'm sorry. Luke nodded. Jamie waited. Nothing. I shouldn't have said what I said. No, Luke finally looked at him. You shouldn't have. Jamie swallowed. There's something I need to tell you. Luke's expression changed. Not much. Enough. Jamie felt the truth rising. Doctor. Tests. Uncertainty. Fear. Say it. Now. But then Luke asked quietly. Are you leaving? Jamie's courage collapsed. Luke looked away. Jamie hated himself for the silence. I'm trying, Jamie whispered. Luke laughed bitterly. To do what? To figure out how to say it. You had no problem saying it to a camera. Jamie flinched. Luke saw, regretted it immediately, but neither took the words back. Jamie reached into his pocket. His fingers touched his phone. Old instinct. Hide behind the screen. He pulled his hand out empty. Luke noticed. Jamie took a breath. I thought if I recorded enough, I could keep things. Luke frowned. Things. Moments. Jamie looked around campus. Students passed them, laughing, rushing toward classes, complaining about assignments as if next month were guaranteed. I kept thinking if something mattered, I had to save it. Because someday his voice failed. Luke waited. Jamie almost said it. Someday I might not be here. Instead, someday it might be gone. Luke's anger softened, but the hurt remained. Jamie, everything becomes a memory eventually. I know. No, I don't think you do. Luke stepped closer. You're so scared of losing things that you're leaving them before they're even gone. Jamie stared at him. There it was again. The truth Luke kept finding without knowing the secret beneath it. Luke sighed. I can't make you tell me something you don't want to tell me. I want to. Then why don't you? Because if I tell you, you might look at me differently. Because you might stay because you feel sorry for me. Because you might leave before I have to. Jamie's eyes burned. I'm scared. Luke went still. It was the most honest thing Jamie had given him. Luke's voice softened. Of leaving? Jamie looked directly at him. No, a beat. Of giving myself a reason to want to stay. Luke stopped breathing. Jamie couldn't go further. Not yet. But this time, he didn't reach for his camera. He stayed there. Terrified. Unrecorded. Present. And when Luke quietly said, then stop talking to some future version of me, Jamie's eyes filled. Luke held his gaze. Talk to the one who's here. For once, Jamie didn't look away.